Hey everybody, it's time for another 2021 Stanley Cup Playoffs series preview, and today we are going to be looking at the East Division matchup between the top seed Pittsburgh Penguins and the 4 seed New York Islanders. This should be a fun series, definitely some contrasting play styles here, and it's going to be interesting to see which one comes out on top. Before we fully get into the preview, I just ask you to please subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you haven't. Helps the channel an absolute ton and is greatly appreciated. But let's get started here looking at Pittsburgh and the New York Islanders. So your top seed Pittsburgh Penguins won the East Division this year with a 37-16-3 record, good enough for 77 points in a first place finish. They played very well against the New York Islanders over the course of this season, going 6-2-0 versus New York this year. So obviously season series definitely, in the regular season at least, favored Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Penguins are the highest scoring team in the NHL, at least as of me recording this. There are still some teams that have games left that aren't finished, so that could potentially change. But 3.45 goals for per game. Massive offensive output from Pittsburgh this season. Their entire top line had over 20 goals. And really, they can score goals better than pretty much everybody else in the league. It's been a phenomenal year offensively for them. Defensively, they haven't been too bad either. 2.77 goals against per game, which is tied for 13th in the NHL. Obviously not top 10 defense or anything like that, but still in the top half of the league, pretty solid defensively. They have a very good power play, 23.7% on the power play, which is 4th in the NHL. Obviously getting the job done with the man advantage and doing a good job of taking advantage of those opportunities. If you are going to take penalties against them, Pittsburgh is going to make you pay. However, where they're not so good is the penalty kill at just 77.4% on the PK this year, which is 26th in the NHL. Now, the good news about that is that the Pittsburgh Penguins are not a team that takes a lot of penalties. The issue with that is that when they do, it ends up in the back of their net quite a bit. So that is going to be something to watch over this series, is that Pittsburgh needs to stay out of the box because they struggle to kill off penalties. Switching over now to the other side, the New York Islanders, the 4 seed in the East, went 32-17-7 this year. Good enough for 71 points. Now, they struggled against Pittsburgh. They only won 2 of the 8 games against the Penguins this season, going 2-4-2 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Offensively, it was a bit of a struggle. This really isn't surprising because this is the way that the Islanders have been for the last few years under Barry Trotz. Not a great offensive team, scoring just 2.71 goals for per game, which is 20th in the NHL. However, they are one of the best defensive teams in the NHL. 2.23 goals against per game, which is 2nd in the league. Top defensive team, one of the top defensive teams in the NHL this year. It's going to be fun to see how Pittsburgh's great offense does against New York's great defense. Power play, not a strength for the Islanders, as offense in general is not a strength for the Islanders. Just 18.8% on the power play, which is 21st in the NHL. And on the penalty kill, they are pretty good. 83.7% on the PK, tied for 6th best in the league. And they have a top 10 penalty kill to go along with their top 10 team defense. So obviously that makes sense that they would be good defensively and good on the penalty kill, and struggle offensively and struggle on the power play. So this is going to be a really interesting series. I am excited to see how this goes. Obviously, in the regular season, Pittsburgh had the advantage. And the other thing that worries me about the Islanders is they did not finish their season strong. The last 2 to 3 weeks of the year, the Islanders did not play very well, so they don't have really any momentum going into the playoffs, whereas Pittsburgh, while they did have a cupcake schedule to end the season, won most of the games that they were supposed to win, which is what allowed them to win the division. And they beat up on all the bad teams that they were playing at the end of the year. So Pittsburgh was very hot now going into the playoffs, whereas the Islanders were on the colder side. Overall, this is just a complete battle of contrast here between these two teams. And that's what makes me kind of excited about this series, is to see which style is going to win out. Because when you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, they are extremely good offensively, best offense in the league. However, the New York Islanders are extremely good defensively, second best defensive team in the league, giving up just barely 2.2 goals per game, which is absolutely phenomenal. So what's going to win out here? Pittsburgh's goal scoring ability or the Islanders' lockdown defense? On the other side of things, you have the special teams matchup here where you have Pittsburgh's very good power play going against the New York Islanders' very good penalty kill. And then at the other side, you have Pittsburgh's not-so-good penalty kill going against the Islanders' not-so-good power play. So what's going to happen here? When the Pittsburgh Penguins are on the power play, is the scoring going to win out, or is the penalty kill going to win out? But then on the other side of things, when the Islanders are on the power play, the Islanders' lousy power play going to be able to play, convert a lot better against Pittsburgh's lousy penalty kill, or is Pittsburgh's penalty kill going to be made look good by the Islanders' power play, which isn't very good? So there's a lot of contrast here. Obviously, the advantage in scoring and offense goes to Pittsburgh. The advantage in defense goes to the Islanders. The season series advantage obviously belongs to the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins are the higher seed and the better team going into the playoffs here. But at the same time, we've seen the Islanders do things in the postseason that people were not expecting. Really, both of the last two playoffs. These two teams met in the first round of the 2019 playoffs, and the Islanders absolutely swept the Pittsburgh Penguins in round one that year. Now, that I obviously do not expect to happen again, but anyone completely counting the Islanders out of this series, I think it is getting a little too arrogant in the Pittsburgh Penguins' favor. This series is not over before it begins. If the Islanders can shut down the Penguins the way that they have in the past, this could be a shocking series here. Now, I am leaning Penguins for this one. Again, I'm not doing predictions in these previews because I'm going to be doing a separate prediction video, but I am leaning towards Pittsburgh here. They have the most of the advantage. They are the better team. They were able to handle the Islanders very well during the regular season. However, the Islanders are not, they have a shot here. If they're going to need to shut down Pittsburgh's offense, which is not going to be easy, but if they can get their defensive game going and make these games 2-1 or 3-2, then the Islanders do have a shot here. And this is going to be a fun series to watch to really see which style ends up winning out, whether it's the high-flying offense of the Pittsburgh Penguins or the lockdown defense of the New York Islanders. Also, I can never count out a Barry Trotz coach team in the playoffs. He is one of, if not the best coach in the NHL. He always gets more out of his teams than originally expected, and he does a phenomenal job of coaching playoff-style hockey where it's much more defensive-minded than run and gun. And that's how you have to play in the postseason if you're going to win. Run and gun teams never go far in the postseason. It's all about the teams that can shut down their opponents. And goaltending. Goaltending is always one of the biggest things in the playoffs. And, if Varlamov is healthy for the Islanders, he's a Vezina candidate this year. Varlamov will be top 5, maybe even top 3 in the Vezina voting this year. So obviously that's good news for New York if he's healthy and able to play at that level. For the Penguins, you're going to be relying on inexperience in goal, whether it's Tristan Jarry or Casey DeSmith or somebody else. Pittsburgh's had some injury issues in goal here to end the season. Assuming that Jarry is good and ready to go, obviously he is the Penguins' best goaltender, but he's inexperienced and doesn't have a lot of playoff games or just a lot of NHL experience in general outside of the past couple of seasons. So could be a bit of a question as we head into the series here. It's going to be a fun series. I'm excited to see how it goes. I love the contrast of these two teams and just how opposite they are of each other. And I think that's going to make for an interesting playoff series to see which style wins out. So Pittsburgh versus New York, first round action should be a good one. There's your preview. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon, merchandise store, donation link, and channel memberships are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.